Hey, it's your friendly vegetarian here, Vanessa Marquez. You are listening to episode 2, Stress and the 7 Ways to Help You Manage Your Diabetes on the Skinny podcast. Is anyone else feeling extra stressed lately? Emotionally, this week has totally sucked, if I'm completely honest. I have been feeling depressed, irritated. I'm definitely going stir crazy at this point and just want to watch TV all day long, which is so not like me. I have been a mixed bag of emotions, and I've really had to reevaluate how I'm coping with stress and the sadness due to everything that's going on in our world. But it really isn't just that, it's the fact that life is still happening. Some of my friends are telling me, as we talk about and catch up, because all we can do now is talk on the phone, and they're just telling me about stuff that's going on their end, and it's hard. It's hard when you're dealing with everything all at once. I'm usually able to keep a positive attitude because I choose to be grateful for everything that I have, whether it's big or small. So, I really have to focus on, okay, Vanessa, so what has changed? What is causing these emotions? And that's the thing that I would love for you to take away from this episode, is that these are all emotions and it's okay to feel them. Recognize that they're there and express them in a healthy way. Whether you call your best friend, talk to your, loved ones, share them with your spouse, someone that you love and trust, as long as you are expressing these emotions and not just suppressing them, that will help you to feel better. And what you do with your emotions, that makes a huge difference in how you manage your stress as well. I really had to assess what I'm currently experiencing. So, for example, my coping mechanism sometimes is, to go on social media and just scroll through the feed and just see what my friends or other people are up to and what fun things they're doing. But my coping mechanisms have had to change recently because I've literally had to just close the Facebook and Instagram apps just for a little while and turn off the news. And here's the kicker, that for me, it's not just the negative or sad things that I'm avoiding, it's also the positive messages as well. And a lot of that has to do because it's just reinforcing the same. It's because it's all regarding whether it's, COVID-19 or how everybody is, in quarantine and at home and social distancing and, some of the things that's, being posted while there's nothing wrong with it. Is funny. It's all just reinforcing the same thing in my brain. So I just had to shut everything down and really refocus on what's important. We're definitely living in a really unpredictable time. It's affected every single person worldwide. And of course, we're concerned about the future and our present circumstances and lost jobs and income and businesses. And, some of you have become teachers overnight to your kids. You're also the managers of everyone else's stress at your house, and that can be taxing. So add that to not having an escape due to social distancing and not being able to leave the house or go anywhere, and that stress really starts to wreak havoc on your mind, on your body, and then there's all the symptoms and side effects that come along with that. So for me, I've really had to ask myself, why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling unmotivated? What's up with this headache that I've had for 2 days? I realized, oh wow, I really haven't been drinking water. That's a simple solution to having headaches, but I'm also having trouble sleeping because I can't get my brain to shut off at nighttime. My sleep schedule is kind of like flip-flopped back and forth because I haven't necessarily kept that, consistency that I used to have. So I say that stress can be a silent killer. I've always said that, especially when you have a chronic illness that is directly affected by the stress that you're under. So you've probably heard terms like chronic inflammation, cortisol, and heart disease relating to unmanaged stress. Think of inflammation as a chronic stress on your cells. It could lead to insulin resistance, heart problems, type 2 diabetes, a rise in your glucose levels, and a plethora of other illnesses and issues, right? So over a long period of time, your body begins to just break down, causing you to have a lower immune system where you're more prone to catching colds and viruses. And if your glucose isn't controlled and your sugar levels are high, it also lowers your ability to fight off the infection. So it takes you longer to feel better and get better, right? So now more than ever, it is important that you check your glucose levels on a regular basis as directed by your doctor. If you have a condition where you have to, for example, check your glucose levels, check your blood pressure, take medicine, make sure that you're doing that on time as your doctor has prescribed. That is one way that you can stay healthy and in control of your health. According to the American Association of Diabetes Educators, AADE, there are 7 self-care behaviors to help you manage your diabetes. And I wanted to go over those with you because they're super simple, but so helpful when it comes to, dealing with the day-to-day stress, dealing with things that are unpredictable and that we just honestly are just unexpected. So for example, the first one, and we just talked about this, is healthy coping. It's really recognizing what you're frustrated about. And sometimes we can even be frustrated with just the fact that we're sick. I remember having my own negative emotions when I used to have diabetes, and just realizing that those emotions are there and just acknowledging them, but not staying stuck on them. Actually, taking steps to improve yourself and your health will help you to be able to cope with negative emotions. Healthy eating. It's hard when you don't have a set schedule. Like if you're stuck at home, for example, and you're not working at the moment, it is really hard to not reach for those cookies and cupcakes. And I'm a baker, so I love to bake and have, make banana nut breads and zucchini breads and, all of the yummy things that my family loves. But you have to be mindful to keep your healthy eating habits solid. Like I had mentioned in a previous Facebook post, that if you're reaching out for something crunchy, you're probably experiencing some sort of irritation, or you're angry about something or frustrated. Grab a crispy apple instead, because it takes you even more work to eat that apple and you get that satisfaction of having to chew it, and it's a lot healthier for you than, say, the chips and the cookies and, the things that we would normally reach for, right? The third self-care behavior that the AADE suggests is being active. And again, this is really hard these days because, you're told to stay at home and not leave the house unless you absolutely have to. But there are definitely some stretches and some exercises that you could do at home. We have some exercises on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube that could help you with that. Whether it's just stretches even in your chair. If you sit down on a chair and you do some stretches that way, that'll help you to stay active, and it'll help you to even gain mental clarity, because you're focused on yourself for a little bit, and not, another thing that has to get done. Or even if you're working from home, it kind of gives you a break from the laptop or the TV, or, so staying active is definitely going to help you to manage your diabetes and your stress levels. Exercise is amazing for both. Taking your medication and definitely making sure that you're taking it on time. You also want to monitor whether it's your diabetes or, like I said, high blood pressure. You want to make sure that you're monitoring that and keeping an eye on what those numbers look like. That way, you could be proactive versus reactive if anything changes with your body. You also want to reduce risk. So, for example, if you have some sort of illness that you have to check on a regular basis, diabetes is the main one that I focus on just from my own personal experience. But you want to reduce the risk of getting worse. You want to reduce the risk of having to go to the hospital or having to call your doctor, or need urgent care because, somehow you stop taking care of yourself. Those are really important factors when it comes to managing stress and your self-care. It's minimizing the risk for things to get worse, or minimizing the risk for you to develop some sort of side effect, or, because your glucose levels were too high, or, it's just so important, so important that we be proactive during these times, and always, and problem solving. If your sugar has spiked, or if your blood pressure is a little high, what's going on? Did you eat something that caused that response, your body's response to the food? Is it responding, is that your body's response to just your stress levels at the moment? And finding ways to make positive changes so that you're able to regain control of your health and your glucose numbers and your heartbeat and your heart rate, and making sure that, everything is working as best as possible, right? So I remember when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2008, my life at that point was one big ball of stress. At the time, I was married. I had just gotten married. We had both lost our jobs literally a week apart. We had no savings. It was totally unexpected. And I would lose my cool over things that were out of my control. And I started to recognize, okay, Vanessa, like, you really need to learn how to manage and cope a little bit better, So I remember back then that stress weighing heavily on me. And I wanted to, now that I know better, now that I've actually, reversed type 2 diabetes, I wanted to share, some of the tools that were helpful for me back then, and be able to give you a better way to cope and to deal with the stress that we are all facing. We're all standing in this together. You are not alone. I just wanted to come on and just kind of give you a little bit of hope, and just know that we are all in this together. And there are positive and healthy ways to manage stress, to manage your diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I mean, just take the steps to practice a little bit of self-care, one day at a time. Don't try to start something totally new, a new diet plan, a new exercise plan. Take it one day at a time. And sometimes I even say I have to take things one moment at a time, because the day is just too much for me to take on at one time. There's life that we're experiencing aside from, everything else that's going on in our world. And so I wanted to provide a little bit of encouragement for you today. And I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. And if you do want to work with me, or you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at whattoeatclub@gmail.com. If you like this podcast and you like the information in it, do me a favor. You see that button down below that says subscribe? Go ahead and click or tap on that. I would love to bring you more information your way. And definitely leave me a comment, whether you like this podcast, you want more information, what you would like to hear in upcoming episodes. I would love to hear it all. Thank you so much for listening to the Skinny Podcast. Until next week, have a blessed one.